Okay, we're going to do a few more topics on here. So I'm starting with topic number 36 right now, where we are solving for W. Now, I can tell that we've got two sets of absolute value symbols. All of the problems aren't going to look like this, and I'm not even sure. I might have changed the problem since this. So I'm just going to do maybe a completely different example for this. And I'll make it kind of similar, but I'm going to do it over on the side here. So let's say we have 4W plus 7 in absolute values. And then that's going to be equal to, we'll say, 5W plus 8. Well, I'm just going to change one number here to start. Now, on all the other absolute value problems that we've been doing, we've been changing the sign on the second portion. So that's really what we're going to do again as we go through this. But now we've got two terms on the right-hand side that we're going to have to change both. So I'm going to set it up with two equations like we were doing in the past. I'll just use that line as a divider. So if I'm doing the first equation here, see if I can zoom in. My first equation is going to be that 4W, I'm just taking off the parentheses now, plus 7 equals 5W plus 8. Okay, there's my first example. My second one is going to be if I were to change this side, if I was going to change that into a negative. So it would look like this. The 4W plus 7, that's not changing. We're going to set that equal to negative 5W minus 8. So I just basically ran a negative through that entire side. At this point, we're just going to solve for W on both of these equations. So just kind of quickly doing this in my head, we would have W equals negative 1, I believe, on that side, if I did that right. Yep, I think that's right. Okay, and then on the other side, we're not going to get that. We will get, let's see, 9W equals negative 1. So W will equal negative 1/9. And that's okay. That works. That's one of our solutions. So we've got two solutions for this. Now, they're not all going to have two solutions, because if we go back to this problem, the original one, you can see that we've got 5W and 5W. So the original one wouldn't work if I was setting them up. I'm not going to go through it all, but if I were setting it up, the original one where I just dropped the absolute value symbols like I did here, which is one of your two solutions, yeah. We would get 5W plus 7 equals 5W plus 8. That to me is going to be a no solution, because you're going to have to subtract 5W from both sides. You're ending up with 7 equals 8, which is obviously not true. So that's not a solution. Now, if you run across a problem like this, you can still run a negative through the other side. So this would be like a negative 5W minus 8. Now you're going to be able to get a solution. So you'll get one solution for those. You're not going to get multiple. So again, just quickly, you're going to make two equations with this. One of them, you're just going to drop the absolute value symbols. And for the other one, you're going to drop the absolute value symbols, and you're going to run a negative through one side. Now, I ran the negative through the right-hand side both times. It doesn't matter. If you want to run the negative through the other side, you sure can. We've just been doing it a certain way this whole time with topics 35 and so on. So we're going to, I just tried to keep it the same for topic number 36. Okay, topic number 37. Graph the solution to the inequality on the number line. So if I'm graphing this onto a number line, first of all, let's make a number line. And I'm just going to put my key ones on there. So 0 would be there. 7 looks like it might be one of the important ones. And then since we're talking about absolute values, I'm going to put negative 7 on there as well. So that's my first point, or my start for my number line. Now I'm looking for numbers that if I plugged them in and took the absolute value of the number, would it be less than 7? So let's try that out. Let's pick a number. Let's pick 0, for example. Would 0 work? If I plugged in a 0 and took the absolute value of it, sorry, let me get that out of there, and took the absolute value of it, it would be 0, 0 is less than 7, which is true. So basically, that point works. That was supposed to be a check mark. That didn't turn out the way I wanted it to work. That one works. Let's try some other numbers. Let's try 8. Let's try to go outside of that 7 and do 8. So I'm talking like over here. Would these work? Well, if I plugged in an 8 and took the absolute value of it, that's definitely not true. That's not a true statement. So nothing out here is going to work. So far 0 worked, nothing on the right-hand side of 7. Let's try down here. Let's try -8. If I plug in a -8, that's down in this portion down there. -8 with the absolute values around them. If I took the absolute value of -8, it's going to be a +8. So we would be left with 8 is less than 7, which is just not true again. So basically what I'm trying to say here is nothing on the outsides of these are going to work. Everything inside should work. We could pick a -6, we could pick a +6, we could pick all of these numbers, any number that you want that's between -7 and +7, and you would find out that they all work. So how would I write this as a final answer? If I can get out of, there we go. As a final answer, I would do this. I see that we don't have an equal sign there, so it's going to be open circles on the 7s, and it's everything between -7 and +7. Now, when you get into some other questions, I can kind of give you a hint here. If it was this way instead, basically we've switched everything around. This is supposed to be is greater than 7. Everything would basically be switched around on this, so I use a different color here. Now we're looking at all of the numbers that would be greater than 7 if we took the absolute value of them. That graph would actually look like this. And just keep in mind that that's a separate graph. Those would actually look different. So something to keep in mind as you're going through those topics. Topic number 38. I just wanted to mention this really quick because typically you would see both ends of it. Alex, for some reason, is not showing both sides. So this would be like a 3. This would be like a 4. And Alex isn't showing it on some of these. On some of them it is showing, but not on all of them. There's actually a closed circle on this one with the arrow pointing that way. So I think I've changed up my note guides for this a little bit too, but just let's act like this was the problem. So we've got 2 arrows pointing outwards, both starting at 4 and with closed circles. We know this is kind of the same problem as the last one, so we know we can start by doing the absolute value of x, and then we're going to need some symbol in the middle, and we're probably going to be using a 4. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to figure out which inequality symbol are we going to use. Well, let's try this one first. Okay, I just pick one and I put it in there and then I test it. So numbers that would work, for example, a 5 would work. Since the arrow is pointing that way, I would just use the 5. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. Is 5 less than 4? Well, no, it's not. So obviously, we've got the wrong symbol. Let's go with this one instead. Now everything in there will be greater than 4. That's going to be all of these numbers that way, and all of these numbers here after you've taken the absolute value of them. So again, set it up like this. Guess what inequality symbol it's going to be. Put your 4 there. Guess the inequality symbol. Check to see if it works. And if it does work, great. If it doesn't work, you're going to have to try again. Let's move on to topic 39, I believe. Okay. This one, it just says we need to solve. So, yeah, that's all we're doing here. We're solving, so we should add 15 to both sides first. So we'll get the absolute value of y is less than or equal to 10. And what numbers would make this true? Trying to figure out how they want us to write it, just as maybe, let's see. I guess maybe as a compound inequality. It's got to be a compound inequality. I think that's what it's going to be looking for. I'm trying to think now, but I'm pretty sure that's got to be a compound inequality. So basically what that means is it's either going to be that like on our number line something like this, or it's going to be pointing outwards like this. And we just got to figure out which one that is. So for this one, we're looking at all of the numbers that when you take the absolute value of them, they are less than or equal to 10. So that tells me on my number line, if this was 10 and negative 10, all of the numbers that are less than 10 are going to be in between. So that's going to be a closed circle. That's going to be a closed circle. It's going to be like that. But I think we need to write that as a compound inequality. So I'm just assuming here this is how we would write it. From negative 10, we have to be less than or equal to, or sorry, it has to be greater than, x has to be greater than or equal to negative 10. And then our other one is going to be like that. So basically what this is saying here, x is between 10 and negative 10. That's got to be the inequality that we use. That's probably what Alex wants. If not, we'll have to fix that, but that's how it should be, and that's what the graph looks like too.